All right, welcome back for Film Shake. This is episode 18, and I am Jordan.
And this is Nick.
And we're here to talk about 1992's Alien 3. That's right. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Yes, we are a 90s movie review podcast. If you didn't know already, we're covering everything from the terrible to the awesome. So you get to decide if Alien 3, well, I guess we get to decide if Alien 3 was terrible or awesome, or maybe both.
Our opinion is objective.
Yes, it's the final word on this movie. Yes.
This is
you need to look no further.
This is the definitive Alien 3 podcast. I'm saying it right now.
That's right.
Because holy cow, I'm just warning you, this is going to get a bit different. It's going to get really philosophical. I actually wrote things that I'm going to say instead of just going out of my brain. These things came out of my brain and then I wrote them down over the course of decades. Because, buddy, you reawakened something in me. Alien and I go way back very deeply, and I disregarded this one, and I'm not going to do that anymore, but we'll get into that later. What the heck did I make you watch since I beat you at trivia for the infinity time last week?
So yeah, it sounds like some opinions have changed, maybe. But yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah, I'm excited to revisit Alien 3. But yeah, of course, we'll have a trivia battle at the end of the show. Loser of that battle will be assigned a terrible movie to watch. And yes, since I suck so bad at trivia, that will probably be me again.
You're
and
awful.
Now I have to report.
You're the worst.
I'm so bad.
I'm trying to do
You're
everything
trying
this
to help
episode
me
to help
win?
you. Like, I'm going to trash talk you. I'm going to brag about how bad I'm going to beat you. All those tropes about pride going before a fall. Like, I'm going to hit you with that this episode. You have got to win.
I feel like you've done that every show. What are you talking about? No, I suck so bad that I can't even win when you try and help me win.
It's embarrassing. I feel like our listeners just turn us off when they get to trivia now. They're like,
Jordan's going to lose. Yeah. That's just the show at this point. What terrible movie is Nick going to give Jordan to watch? That's why people want to come back and just listen to me humiliate myself. No, so Fallen Warrior review time. Nick made me watch 1992's Nemesis, which is a sci-fi. I wish it was a sci-fi.
It's pretty fly
movie.
for a sci-fi.
No, I could have been watching more of the Alien franchise like I wanted to revisit, but instead I watched this garbage of a movie.
Come on.
It's pretty terrible. Come on.
Dude, it's Albert Puen.
It's pretty bad.
Say his name.
Oh, man. And I wanted to say, first off, I almost had to watch this on Crackle, but I saw that if I had watched it on Crackle, I would have had to watch like 200 ads to get through it, which probably would have made this like a 4-hour movie. But
I watched it on Crackle, and I don't even remember the ads. It all just blended together.
Sure, it's just Progressive is subliminally like inserted in your brain. You have to go buy some Progressive insurance.
That's right. Flo was my favorite character from Nemesis.
Yeah, you thought she was a real character.
She was incredible.
She was great in this movie. She's the best actress. Yes, her arc in this movie. No, I found it on Prime, which was great, so I didn't have to watch any ads. And all I'm going to say is, if you want to meet a French Marine turned actor with the worst line deliveries ever possible and who stumbles through explosions, then go watch this movie. If you want to try and track down his former cyborg lover, a female droid named Jared, go watch this movie. If you want to see a futuristic shotgun blast blow up a building, go watch this movie. If you want to see a part cyborg cop backflip off of a waterfall while shooting the evil cyborg villain with a bazooka handgun that blows up said villain and leaves only the skin is melted off his body, leaving only a Terminator robot skeleton.
You're only saying stuff that's awesome. Everything you've said so far is awesome. I don't really understand
then
what the
go
problem
watch this
is.
movie. But otherwise,
I love it.
Otherwise, don't watch this movie because it's terrible and you'll hate yourself for losing trivia once again. Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
No, it was like the epitome of a B sci-fi like trash movie because like I forgot how bad acting could be, and then I watched this movie.
This guy's not a natural actor. I'll give you that.
And you did give me the heads up about the nudity in this, and yeah, there's some really awkward. It's not even like titillating or sexual at all.
Oh, not at all.
Really, really awkward nudity
it's
in
weird.
this movie. It's pretty weird. I don't know what the main guy, the ex-French Marine, Olivier Gunner. I don't want to say he's like a wannabe Van Damme because he's French, but I also don't. I felt like I was getting some Schwarzenegger vibes from his line readings, but I don't know how much of that is like him or just all the ADR in this movie, because I'm pretty sure 100% of this movie was like the dialogue was re-recorded.
No diggity, no doubt. And by the way, Van Damme is the muscles from Brussels, Belgium. Okay, so he's not following his footsteps. This guy's a French original.
All right. Why am I thinking Van Damme is French? He's got the accent, I guess.
Belgium and France are very different places.
No, they're the same.
Ask the people in Belgium who speak French.
The same people. Come on. Sorry for everybody from Brussels that listens to our podcast. No, yeah, 1 star out of 5. It was terrible.
Dang.
I watched that movie and then I was like, I've got to win at trivia next time because I could have been watching more Alien.
Yes. So I picked this because I knew you would hate it, even though I do think it has some redeeming qualities. Just the total over-the-top stupidity of it, I really appreciate.
Like, I try to get into that, like, oh, this is so bad, it's good and schlocky and fun and stuff, but after a while, it's just like, I gotta watch more of this movie. There's 30 more. I saw there's 30 more minutes in the movie, and I was like, oh, thank God, it's almost over.
Well, it also has this, in my opinion, really sweet early 90s Michele Rubini synth score. I like those synth tones that he found for this flick.
You mean the dramatic chords that play every time a villain appears on screen?
Every time.
Dun, dun. It's how like every time a villain, it's like they're introducing the villains every time they come back on. Dun, dun.
You were never confused though, right? Like you always knew, this is the villain.
I was very confused at multiple points. Like, wait, the cyborg, the commissioner of the LAPD is a cyborg and he wants plans from the Jared female robot, which that was confusing. Like what? Oh, and wait, why is our main French Marine guy now on the cyborgs part who were against the other cyborg? I don't know. Just like what is going on? Okay.
Let me ask you
whatever. Things are exploding. Backflip off a waterfall. Let's go.
That backflip was sweet.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
Yeah. So let me ask you one thing, Jordan. Are you ready to win a trivia?
I'm hoping to win again.
Are you ready to win at trivia?
I really want you to have to watch Mr. Nanny now because I'm bringing Mr. Nanny back.
Oh, hell no, you'll never beat me.
If you lose today, it's Mr. Nanny, my friend.
You suck. You suck. You will lose. In Belgium, they speak Dutch, German, and French, by the way. There's no Belgish.
Belgish.
And you're going to lose at
Pretty
trivia.
Sure they do.
Just like they failed to make up their own language, you're going to fail at beating me at trivia again because you're the worst ever.
We shall see. We shall see.
In history.
I'm going to give you a schooling on the Alien franchise later, and I don't know. We'll see how much you remember and how much you've retained over the years of your love for Alien.
So my loss would be humiliating, and I would feel like a failure.
That's right.
Perfect. You're never going to beat me because you suck, so I don't have to worry about that.
You're just doing all this, hoping that your pride will be your fall later. I know you don't think I really suck. I know you love me.
I don't. I can't believe. Again, I'm in disbelief every week.
Not buying it. I'm gonna lose. All right.
Man.
Well, you ready to get into some Alien 3?
Let's do it. It's Alien 3 time, baby.
That's such a weak baby. You sounded like Olivia Gunner from Nemesis. I want to love you, baby, but you're a cyborg.
Oh.
Nemesis is my nemesis.
Oh, yeah, so let's get into Alien 3, man.
Let's do it.
I told you at the end of the last episode, I can't see a world in which I like Alien 3. You remade the world for me. Because I'm just going to give you a spoiler here. I appreciate this movie now. We'll talk about it more later.
Good. Good. I appreciate it as well. So I'm excited. And we did talk about how we were going to only watch the theatrical cut. I failed at that because I watched the theatrical cut and then I was like, I feel like I need to watch the assembly cut. So I went and did that.
You failed at that harder than you do at trivia, which is impressive.
I did.
Because you suck at trivia.
I'm really interested in talking about both versions and kind of comparing and getting into some thoughts about the changes and whatnot and seeing what you have to think. Because you watched both cuts as well, right?
That's right. So I had seen both cuts before, obviously, and I dismissed 3 a long time ago. And then I watched the assembly cut, and I thought, no, it's just a longer version. I know a lot of people liked it better, but I didn't have enough appreciation for the core of the movie to even appreciate the assembly cut. But yeah. I told you right after the last episode, right after we recorded it, I'm going to get this movie. I don't know if I'm going to like it, but I'm going to get it. So I watched the original cut 3 times for this episode.
Whoa.
And I watched the assembly cut because I'm going to get it. And I think I got it.
Sweet. Well, let's get into it. Yeah, let's talk about the machinations of Alien 3.
The machinations.
So wait, right off the bat, I wanted to say this opening credits sequence, I was scared just from that. I was like, oh my God. The quick cuts back and forth. Like you got the title and the actors' names, and then like there's cuts to inside the spaceship where things are going wrong right away, and they're all in their cryo tubes, frozen, and there's obviously an alien on board and wreaking havoc. And I was just like, oh God. Like I'm invested. I'm invested already.
And I'll bring it up a lot, but that Elliot Goldenthal score for this, which I was able to lock down a La La Land version of the score. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
It's good.
It's incredible.
It does the job for sure. Yeah, it gets me right into it right away, where I'm just like, oh, dreading whatever's going to happen to these people. And it's great. Everyone but Ripley dies right away. Let's see. Hicks, you got Hicks on board from Aliens and Newt. And I know a lot of people did not care for this when the movie came out, how they're just quickly dispatched. The aliens wreaking havoc on their ship, and then the EEV crash lands on this prison planet. And people did not care for this, just kind of wiping out this little nuclear family that Ripley had created from the previous one. But you get some really grisly shots of both of them, like they're just mangled bodies in their tubes. And I really liked how methodical that was at the beginning. You get the computer readout of their status, like with the green letters on the black screen. And then it cuts to these really terrible images of their bodies all jacked up in their pods. And that's just frightening right away. Really well done. Sets the tone nicely. And in the theatrical version, you've got the barking dog that seems to sense the alien on the ship, and the face hugger kind of crawling around in the background and everything. So thought all that stuff was good. Yes, what did you make of the opening?
Well, this is making me want to ask you a question that I did not prep you for at all, because for me, I was hugely disappointed at the deaths at the beginning. Like I was done with the movie immediately when I watched this the first time.
Yeah, because you were so invested in those characters, right?
Yes. So what was your history with this franchise leading up to this?
I mean, obviously, I've seen Alien. I've seen Aliens. It was not until like maybe 5 or 6 years ago that I'd seen both, and not just watching on TV or bits and pieces of it. Yeah, I mean, it's still been a while since I've seen both those, like a couple of years, but not too far removed. I remember buying Alien on DVD like at a garage sale for 25 cents, like about 5 years ago, and I don't think I'd ever seen the full thing, and so watched that and loved it. I want to say I gave it 5 stars or 4.5, like really close to just perfect masterpiece of a film. And felt really strongly about Aliens as well. Really great sequel to the first one. But yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Aliens, so if I had seen that more recently, I might have felt a little bit more attached to this one. And I want to say Alien 3 was the first one that I saw growing up as a kid. Like, I just remember jumping right into this with the shaved head and the alien baby and the prison planet and everything. So this was basically my introduction to the franchise back in the day, just having never seen the first two, having grown up without them. So that might affect my feelings on that. You know, even like loving the second one and liking the characters of Hicks and Newt, I just think it's such a bold choice right up. Just be like, nope, they're dead. This is going to be dark. Ripley's on this, you know, dank, dirty, rusted old prison planet. I just love that, the whole tone and atmosphere of this movie. So I think that's an awesome choice. Like, even if I like those characters or not, I mean, like I said, I know a lot of people don't care for that, but I think it's great. And I thought those really gnarly, grisly images were frightening and awesome.
That's cool, man.
Obviously, you don't feel the same way.
Well, I didn't. I did not see this movie right when it came out in 1992. I turned 11 that year. I do remember, you know, all the media for it, all the cool stuff going along. The SNES game, which I actually played through also,
Nice.
in addition to watching all these movies a ton of times. I just played through it, finally made it, you know, through the game. It's hard. But anyway, you know, I remember that early 90s vibe, which I have just nostalgia for that vibe, but I didn't see the film then. I saw the Alien films in order. I saw the first back in high school. I think I've talked about how I randomly had the Encore channel, which is how I've probably seen 80% of the movies that I've watched. I watched like 20,000 movies in high school between like 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. because I don't sleep. I think I've also established that. And I watched the first Alien at like 2 a.m. one night in high school.
Ooh,
and
scary stuff.
It blew my mind to a huge degree. Just everything about it. But even philosophically, honestly, that movie introduced nihilism to me, which I had never heard of before. And I'm going to get into nihilism a lot later.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of tend toward nihilism to a negative degree, which is not good for me. But my natural thought process always goes that way. And when I saw this movie, I thought, this is true. This is the honest truth right
What
here.
about Alien 3 or Alien?
Alien 1. And
Alien
then I
1,
saw the
okay.
second film, and it's completely different, but it's so damn awesome. I did not care that they dropped a lot of the ideas from the first film. Not necessarily dropped, but it just goes in a different direction because it's more about a nuclear family gets created in that film. But then also it's just gung-ho action the whole time, which the first is not at all. And it's an awesome movie.
Yeah, and that's Cameron's like MO, you know, and that's why I love all these movies too. We'll talk about that, how each director has kind of put their own stamp on each film, you know, from Scott, the first one, and the blending of the sci-fi and the horror, and then Cameron, like you said, like, you know, reading multiple articles about his MO being like the, you know, the preservation of the nuclear family, and you can see that in a lot of his films. So,
and if I'm being honest, I think that Aliens is probably still my favorite. I think the emotion at the end of that film, Ripley stepping out, you know, in the big Met suit, saying, you know, get away from her, you bitch, you know, and then like Newt at the end of the movie, who's lost her family, like hugging Ripley and calling her mommy, and they're both like crying, you know.
Yeah, so good.
After all, like the big, buff, awesome action, to have all that like emotional vulnerability and tenderness at the end. I just love that movie a lot. So when 3 came out and they just killed everybody but Ripley, I was pissed. And not when it came out, because I said I didn't see it then. But, you know, I watched it after watching 2 at some point in high school, I guess. And I was just done with it immediately. I wasn't open to what it was going to say. And I didn't realize at the time that it was a culmination of the ideas that started in 1. And I'm going to talk about that later. But I just didn't notice it then. I was too incensed. Even when I watched the assembly cut, I wasn't ready to look closer at the movie. But you made me watch it for this episode. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, man. Let's talk about the assembly cut, too, here at the opening, because with that cut, you get some really great exterior shots that you don't get with the theatrical, which I really appreciated. You get Clemens, the medical officer, walking outside, you know, around the compound, and he finds Ripley washed up on the shore. You also get a lot better rescue of the EEV, and you got these gnarly looking oxen pulling it out of the water with these, you know, ropes. And all these shots to me just look a lot better. Like they just feel a lot more Fincher. The cinematography just, you know, it's just really blows my mind right there. Whereas the ones that you get of inside the EEV as the prisoners from the compound are going inside the ship, and you got that jump scare of the oxygen tubes like falling down. A lot of that the acting there was rough, and the shots just kind of felt cheap. Like, it was obviously probably from the reshoots that they did for this film, because, as I'm sure we'll get into it, the production of this movie was haunted from the beginning. Like, multiple scripts that they couldn't agree on, multiple directors backing out, studio interference with David Fincher as he's making the movie, just all sorts of obstacles to overcome.
This was David Fincher's first movie, so 20th Century Fox just pushed him around like, a bully on a playground, not knowing this is the same David Fincher that's probably going to make, well, arguably the best trilogy of movies of the 90s, because immediately after this he did Seven, The Game, and then Fight Club. So he had so much currency by the end of the 90s, but at this point he had none. Yeah. And the studio really just wanted to make money, and he wanted to do something completely different. I think his vision still comes through, which we can talk about more later.
Yeah. Which to me is amazing, at this point in his career, his first debut film with so much interference, that you can still see some great seeds of his work to come, the visual style, the tone, the brooding, the nihilism, all that. Even though this film does have problems that we'll get into.
Yes.
I think it's pretty outstanding how much he fought against the studio and how much you can really see his genius and his vision come through here.
Yes, and the assembly cut is called the assembly cut and not the director's cut, because we were kind of talking about that at the end of the last episode, because I called it the director's cut. Errantly, thankfully I corrected myself in the episode, so I didn't give you bad information, because we fact-checked everything later, right? We don't want to tell you the wrong thing. It's called the assembly cut because Fincher, he never made a director's cut. He didn't want to have anything to do with this afterward. He dismissed the film, and then he gave his blessing for a team to assemble the footage that he had shot before, and they got this assembly cut, which is, 37 minutes longer, out of that. But it's not a true director's cut. He did not put his hands on it at all.
Yeah, it was based on, he did a work print where he edited together the footage before, somebody else took over, and, they wanted to do more reshoots and everything, so he backed out at that point. But yeah, they based the assembly cut on a previous cut he did of the film, so try to follow that as closely as possible, but obviously not, it's not exactly his vision, so that would, to me, that's a shame, because I would love to see a version of this film where he just had complete creative control and his vision shined through all the way, because even though it's a special edition that they released later with the assembly cut, it's got its problems just being literally a movie pieced together from various sources. Yeah, it still holds together, and I really enjoyed the assembly cut a lot better than the theatrical.
I'm torn. There's stuff in the theatrical that I like better than the assembly. There's stuff in the assembly that I like better than the theatrical. I guess let's dive into the film and we can go
work it out.
Yeah, let's work it out.
Yeah, so right off the bat, I like this intro where we have an all-male prison planet. At first, watching the theatrical especially, I'm kind of confused. I'm like, some of these guys are guards or some of them prisoners? I can't really tell. And that's where the assembly cut comes in and really gives, I feel like, more establishment of the smaller secondary characters before we get the Superintendent Andrews giving, this is rumor control, and he talks about how, the EEV is crashed and there's a woman, now in their facility and everything. In the theatrical, that's all we get. In the assembly cut, you've got Charles S. Dutton, who's in this, who's great. And he gets to pray, and he gets to really set the tone of the prison of, we are poor sinners in the hands of an angry God. And, all the prisoners saying, amen, and establishes that religious tone and this whole vibe of these converted fundamentalist prisoners, which I was kind of confused about going into the theatrical. All of a sudden you've got a guy talking about his vows of celibacy, and, a woman is going to disturb their harmony and stuff like that. But to me, this just was a great example of how the smallest edits can really affect a film and, make things make more sense and even lift up the acting. Yeah, it's an interesting setup right away. We're going to have multiple conflicts where Ripley's the only woman on this prison planet, and obviously we're going to have an alien fight at some point, and they're going to be playing around in the gender waters again like they've done in every other Alien film. So yeah, I'm thinking, man, I'm sold at this point. Probably some bad acting coming my way, probably some poor effects, but at this point I'm all into it because I just love the visual style of this film and just the sets and the production design. Always outstanding in an Alien movie, but I feel like this one for me, it's just that early 90s urban decay that I love. So I'm right there with it. Like, I didn't mind watching both versions back to back because I was just like, I just want to be in this atmosphere, even though it's just terrible and dirty.
Dude.
But yeah, I love it.
You nailed it, man. For me, this is not my favorite Alien film, but the visuals and the soundtrack are my favorites. I think this is the best looking Alien movie, despite what you said, the actual setting of it, which is definitely the nastiest and the grimiest.
Right.
I'm just talking about the first three movies here. Resurrection, let's not talk about that this episode.
I'm going to talk about some Resurrection, my friend. No. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Because I rewatched that too. So.
Oh, jeez. So I don't think I'll ever change my opinion on that one. I don't know. Maybe I will. I like that director, as you know. But anyway, the visuals and the soundtrack for me are my favorite of the franchise, of the trilogy. That's what I'm going to say, of the trilogy. It's not my favorite of the trilogy, but the visuals and the soundtrack. And you've got James Horner and Jerry Goldsmith scoring the other two films. And I like Elliot Goldenthal score better, which is insane because those guys are juggernauts.
So I'm with you, man. Out of especially the first three in the trilogy, can we call it a quadrilogy, or are you annexing Resurrection? Is just dead to you? But I love the look and feel of this film. And it's obviously just a stamp from Fincher. Great cinematography. It just looks like a David Fincher film, which to me is just amazing. He could come out of the gate with this, and it's just so consistent with the rest of his filmography. Just the visual style and the tone. I'm with you on this. This is probably my favorite visually and score-wise. I don't recall the scores from the others that much. I'd have to go back and rewatch it, but I just love this dirty, nasty atmosphere.
It's beautiful.
Beautifully terrible. Terribly awesome, just like our podcast. Yeah, so Ripley wakes up and she finds the acid burns aboard the ship, and she needs to see the Newt and have an autopsy done by Clemens, the medical officer. I just want to talk about Charles Dance, who plays Clemens, and how awesome he is, man. He does an outstanding job in this, and he's great. He's probably my favorite character, like even beyond Ripley in this. To me, I feel like Charles Dance's acting is perfect, and I'm really excited to rewatch Last Action Hero because he's in that. But, seriously.
Very sexy Charles Dance.
Yes, he's sexy in this somehow. He's just great, and sometimes he's cold and like collected and reserved. He's very methodical, but then he's kind of a smart ass, and he's really witty. He even creeps you out at times where you're just like, wait, is this dude gonna kill her? Or he's got like, he's really gonna be like a bad guy. The score plays around with that. And then he's got this sob backstory, and he's very tender and empathetic. Yeah.
He's a romantic interest. Ripley doesn't get one of those up until now, really. A little bit with Hicks, maybe. A little bit with Hicks,
yeah. But he's the only dude, unless you count the alien in Resurrection, who gets in the sack with Ripley the whole series. I mean, this right away, they've got some chemistry, So I'm like, I want to go watch every Charles Dance movie now and dance. Get my dance on.
Get your dance on. Because Charles S. Dutton, I thought, did great. I mean, he's a 90s all-star. He was in Surviving the Game a few episodes ago. We love Charles S. Dutton. Or at least I do. I'm assuming you do.
Yeah, he's a little wacky in this. I mean, I feel like for the most part he works in his character, especially in the assembly cut. You get more of him, and I feel like it just works better with just some of the extra scenes he gets. But yeah, he's good. I like him. What about this autopsy, man? This is a pretty brutal moment. Even though you don't really see anything on camera, she's convincing him that she wants to check and make sure there's no infection, no virus or disease brought aboard the ship, and you just got this grisly, just terrible moment where he's just breaking open a Newt's rib cage with this saw, and then you see the bloody saw. And apparently there was a version of this that they tested out on test audience where you saw a lot more of the autopsy and a lot more of the blood and guts and stuff, and people just started walking out. So yeah, they eventually cut that from this movie, which I'm kind of glad, because even just like hearing it and knowing this is this little girl being torn open, and I'm sure for people that were Newt fans and Hicks fans from Aliens, this was just like a slap in the face. Like even Cameron said this was just a slap in the face to fans. Again, I feel like this just sets the dark tone. I don't know, just the foreboding that this film's going to carry all the way through. I thought it was great.
Yes, and of course, no one else here at the facility knows what an alien is. They don't know about this creature at all, and Ripley lies and says that it's a cholera infection she's looking for. It's pretty clear it's not cholera, and Charles Dance, he's very skeptical. He knows that it's not cholera she's looking for. There's something else going on. He saw those acid burns from earlier. He knows something's up.
It makes sense of this for me, though. She says, yeah, it might be cholera. Cholera. And he's like, there hasn't been a cholera infection in 200 years. So, like, how would she even know about cholera, or just why would she pull cholera out of her?
She's missed a lot of the last 200 years. She was floating out in space at the end of Alien for, I think, 57 years. And then time
that was going to be one of my
by.
trivia questions. So, oh, well, scratch that.
Because you suck. Good luck writing more questions before I kick the crap out of you. Yeah, so she had all that time in space. Then when she gets back to Earth, she gets a job and works. More time passes by. And then, we don't know for sure how long she was on the Sulaco, which is the ship that she was in, when she was asleep. Whenever, all the crazy stuff happens and she ends up getting tossed to this prison planet. Right. So time has passed by. I'm not 200 years, but she would have known of this. It's not that long ago for her.
You know what is 200 years? After this movie, 200 years until Resurrection, your buddy.
Oh, stop bringing up Resurrection.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That would be worse. Never mind. No, I'm not going to say that.
Ooh, punishment. Punishment time, maybe? All right. I'll keep that in mind.
More enticement for you to beat me.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we get a really awesome funeral scene as they're throwing the bodies of Hicks and Newt into their furnace, because this is they've got like a big giant furnace for melting lead. And
okay, so they make the lead linings for waste containers.
Oh yes, there you go.
I watched this movie 3 times, Jordan.
Yeah, you know all the details.
That's right.
But yeah, they're throwing the bodies in there, and it's got this great cut between this funeral, and they've got this eulogy by Charles S. Dutton as he's talking about suffering and pain and how we're letting go of these lives with a glad heart because they don't have to endure any more suffering in the world. And it's all cut between this infected dog or ox, depending on the version you're watching, and it's just shaking and convulsing, and then it explodes with blood everywhere, and an alien comes out as Dutton is giving a grim speech, and he talks about how with every death there is a new life. Cue the xenomorph emerging from the corpse of the animal. And I thought that was awesome. Like the editing right there was really magnificent, and the score.
The editing, the score, Dutton's performance, I thought all of it was great. There's just a great synergy there. It's awesome. That's one of my favorite sequences in the movie, honestly. Well, cool. And I feel like you lose that a little in the assembly cut, because for me, the ox bit, I didn't like. I prefer the dog better. Okay, it's more relatable. Okay. It's something more that you're like, oh no, not the dog. With the ox, it's not like that. It's a little more distant. It's just not something you can connect to as easily. Even how the dog is hanging out with the one character, I think it's Murphy.
Yeah.
Who, obviously, almost everyone dies later on, including the dog in this scene. Spoiler. And Murphy later. But for me, I had more of a connection with the dog there. I felt it was more natural with the dog running up to the ship and sniffing around. I like that from the original cut better. I'm just going to say this now, and this isn't going to be popular, and I don't really care, because, I've looked online, and I know other people have this opinion too. I like the original cut better. Here's why. It's snappier. It gets to where it's going. You don't get to know the inmates as well, but the core of the movie is still there. There are things like the dog. There are things like what happens when Ripley's falling at the end, which we'll get to in a few minutes, that I like better. And I also thought there are some extraneous things in the assembly cut that make it longer than it should that really aren't necessary. There are some subplots with some side characters where you don't really see what happens to them in this cut, which is a problem, but adding all the extra footage for me, it just kind of padded it out. It did give certain characters more development, but you have enough major characters here that I feel like you do get development with, and I really didn't need it. So I'm just going to come out and say I actually prefer the original cut at this point.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'm glad at least we have something to contrast our opinions here, because I totally disagree. I did not care for the theatrical cut right off the bat. I just felt like it was messy. I felt like, you get a lot of scenes with these characters, but you don't really know who they are, and they're not well established. So for me, padding it out just lifted this up so much for me, and getting to know those side characters and getting some of those subplots and developing some of more of the themes revolving around their zealotry in the prison and everything. It just, it made me realize how much they had cut to trim it down and how much it didn't work, like, where the problems were coming from for me, where I was just like, what? Like, oh, they're prisoners, but they're also like choosing to be there, and they're waiting on God, like, or they're religious, or like, what? And like, who's that guy? Like so many edits for me. Like, I was like, oh, that was terrible acting, or oh, that was a terrible plot point. And then I see the extended cut, and I'm like, oh, that's good. That made it a lot better, actually. So yeah, for me, it just went the opposite way.
There's definitely stuff like that there that gives it an edge. Overall, I prefer the original. I do agree some of the filling out is good and really needed. I wish, and again, I know I'm not the only one that feels this way, but I wish there was a way to make a perfect cut between both versions.
Director's cut, man. Get Fincher back in there.
Yeah, come back, Fincher, because I don't think we have a definitive view even on whether he preferred the dog or the ox, because there's some anecdotal evidence that he actually preferred the dog. So who knows? We'll never know. We'll never know.
Because you're not really sure, like, oh, what is Fincher and what was just a reshoot by the studio or what? But yeah, I was going to ask you about the dog or ox. I think I see your point about the dog being more relatable and, oh, not the dog, and more of like a human element there. There's more tension. But I think overall I like the ox stuff better, because without the ox, we wouldn't get those awesome exterior shots of the ox, and then we wouldn't get that scene, like, I guess it's like the butcher area where they're hanging up the ox and everything. I just feel like you get a little bit more of the world building and understanding of this place by including those ox scenes. And it's also kind of harkens back to the religious zealotry, where you got an ox as like the symbol for a sacrifice, from the Old Testament, and stuff like that. So I thought that was cool how it kind of worked with their religiousness.
That's a legit point, but I beat you in trivia every episode, and you suck, and you're wrong. Those are good points. I like what you said about the religious imagery. That's definitely true. I will add to the points I made earlier also that this alien runs around like a dog. It moves like a dog that can climb walls and ceilings. It doesn't really move like an ox. So again, I feel like logically the dog makes more sense. But I like what you said about the symbolism there. That's a cool observation for sure.
No, that's a good point too.
From a trivia loser.
They really did design the alien based off of a dog, or I think Fincher said a puma, but like a dog-like creature. And I think that is really cool either way, how the alien becomes a quadruped, because, depending on the host, the previous films, the hosts were always humans, so the alien was always, upright on 2 feet, or crawling around on 2 feet and hands and whatnot. But I think it's pretty cool how they went a different direction here. And like I said, this was like my first Alien film to watch, so I always just had it in my mind as crawling around on all fours, so.
Yeah, which is really different. It doesn't generally zip around this way. They're not slow or anything, but the movements that you see are generally kind of more graceful and elegant and slower. Right. And this guy's just bopping around. And I will say, an issue that I do have with this movie, and it's not really improved by the assembly cut either, is that some of the effect shots, I know we don't have Stan Winston here, but some of the effect shots just aren't quite up to snuff.
No,
even
they're not.
Some of the model work early on, the pod detaching from the rest of the ship, very lousy model work in my opinion. It looks like toys that they're holding with their hands and filming.
Right.
It's kind of rough because the first film in 79, they look incredible. And you would think 13 years later, technology would make them look even better. For some reason, they don't. I don't know. That's something for me in both cuts I was a little bummed with. Now, there's some awesome shots of this Alien 2. I love the design. And pretty much all the close-ups are great. It's more some of the medium shots where it's moving around, where even the scale gets a little messed up because they keep referring to it as being huge. They call it a dragon, which is some awesome, more biblical imagery that ties in the themes of the movie. But the scale kind of, sometimes it doesn't seem that big just because of effects issues, I think, with some of the composite shots and stuff. So I think that's also an issue for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that, especially those CGI shots, like you said, where it's running, back and forth through corridors, and it's obviously composited in. It just looks really rough, and I would agree about the model work in the beginning, too. It's surprising, like, how, looking at, like, clips from Aliens and, like, the Queen, all the different, not prosthetics, but animatronics or, the suits and stuff, they all look legit. They all look really good. And then here it's up and down, it's back and forth.
Just a slight step down there. I know that this is Stan Winston's kind of old team, sort of, but he's not here. There's definitely a little step down.
Well, then you move on in the plot. So there's lots of gender play, as always. Talk about Ripley as a woman, how she was the only one to survive. She shaves her head. She becomes more like a man, which I think this is interesting. How the series has always kind of played with those gender conventions. And how in the first movie, she was the final girl. She becomes a sole survivor, becomes really the hero. And like we talked about before, the second movie, that's where she takes on more of like the mother role, but she's still like a badass hero there as well. But this is interesting for this movie where her womanhood is unwelcome because of these prisoners have taken a vow of celibacy. They view her as a threat, to the harmony of their spirituality. There's also just the danger of one woman and all these rapists and murderers. So that's some, interesting tension there between their religious beliefs and then, they're also rapists and murderers. So there's some conflict over them wanting her, trying to deny her, seeing her as a temptation. But I like how there's the sexuality of the alien, if you will, which, has always been referred to as like the manifestation of fear of rape, how typically rape associated with women fearing men, and then now you've got this creature that can
impregnate men,
and then it pops out of their chest, which is terrible. And then Ripley is like the temptation amongst these men who are trying to be chaste, and I like how both are seen as these evil presences. So you get this nice connection between Alien and Ripley, how they're both unwelcome in this environment. And not to bring it back to Resurrection again, but you go really hardcore with that idea in the next film where Ripley is part alien. But I like how here it's just kind of like a gentler nod. It's got a real world punch to this commentary on their
let me correct you there. In Alien Resurrection, it's not Ripley, it's Ripley 8. It's a clone of Ripley, it's not this Ripley.
Okay,
this Ripley
sure.
dies at the end of this film.
I'm joking.
I hope that's one of your stupid trivia questions.
It's Ripley 8, dude. Shut up. It's not the real Ripley.
I'm going to get way nerdier later, so just
all right.
Hold on to your pocket protector.
Oh. It's not so over the top like you have it in the next film. So all the prisoners have been converted to some form of Christian fundamentalism with an apocalyptic edge. They're left by the company in this remote place as custodians of the prison. It makes you really ask, like, okay, how terrible is this future that these men have chosen to stay here in this dump of a place? And I like that in the assembly cut, we get Ripley asking Dutton at one point, what are they waiting on? And he says, we're waiting for the Lord to come and raise the servants to redemption. And, they...
Now, see, again, I didn't need that because he tells her in their conversation earlier that this is a fine place for them to wait. And they mentioned in conversation between Ripley and Clemens what sect of Christianity they are, which is millenarism. So I knew they were waiting for the end. So I didn't need them to explain that more, which I'm going to flip the script, because usually whenever stuff gets explained a lot, you get mad and say, I didn't need that. And I'm like, well, it didn't really bother me. In this case, I didn't need that. Thanks, original cut, for not making me spend any seconds of my life listening and watching that.
Well, I appreciated that, just because it gives more language to their beliefs and where they're coming from. I didn't feel it so much was like, oh, we have to beat the audience over the head or spell it out. But if you're not up and up on that kind of stuff, and he's like, oh, it's a fine place to wait, then you're like, well, what are they waiting for? You know, what's going on? Maybe they have another motive for being there, but it's just unclear from the original cut. But I also like how you get I like how you also get more biblical imagery, them calling the creature the beast or the dragon, referring to the book of Revelation. And it's interesting how this kind of correlates with some of Fincher's other work, his next project, which would be Seven. And there you've got more biblical imagery. You've got the 7 deadly sins, serial killer, you know, killing the immoral people who've committed these sins. So I like that, you know, he's got this theme going through both films. And yeah, just think that's interesting.
What did you think of In the Year 7510? Do you like the song that Murphy was singing while he was mopping up?
I like that scene. I wasn't familiar with that song.
It's an old 60s song. I think it's Zager and Evans in the year 2525. It was kind of this folk rock song. I love how he's singing it to where it sounds like a punk song.
Yeah.
I think it was supposed to actually be Painted Black. And then
it was supposed to be Painted Black.
I love Painted Black, but actually kind of like this there. It gives the film more of that grimy aesthetic that we both dug. So. Oh
yeah, it worked. It worked for that scene. I love that scene. You've got Murphy, one of the prisoners, just scraping the crap off of this ventilator duct.
Yeah, he's the first of the gang to die, and no one obviously knows about the alien at this point, and Ripley is hoping it's not the alien, but it was the alien. It frightened him, and then nailed him with the little inner jaw piece that all the aliens have. And it sends him flying backwards through a fan. Everyone at first says, well, I think he got sucked into the fan, but of course, you pirate alien.
Let's talk about how this blood splatters everywhere. Just hits the fan, hits the camera, goes everywhere. It's wicked.
I love that blood
I love
splatter.
it, dude. That was an awesome shot.
It was brilliant. And then Clemens notices, well, the fan was blowing outward. He couldn't have gotten sucked into it. And then he sees the alien acid burn. And Ripley's got some questions to answer, but he's also keeping a secret about what he's done to have ended up out here on the fringes of space. So they kind of are playing around with, there's a lot unspoken between the two of them, that they're kind of
dancing around each other. Charles dance. You like that?
Very nice.
Because meanwhile, Ripley just straight up wants to get her bone on. Because she's been out here a long time, as she says. She just asked Clemens straight up, are you attracted to me? And, I mean, who's he to turn down Sigourney Weaver? So, yeah, they're just up in the bed, which it's cool. I love how polite he is. He's like, I really appreciate your affections, like, as they're getting out of the bed. Or he's asking her more questions about, you know, what are you really after? What do you think's going on? And then she notices the barcode on the back of his head. Oh, I'm not a prisoner, but I can't tell you why I'm not a prisoner. Let's not talk about that. Oh, I've got to go see this grisly murder real quick. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be all up on this dude with the shaved head and raincoat full of lice and the sweet barcode tat on his neck.
I like the wardrobing. Those jackets were cool.
Man. Oh, yeah, dude. Just want all this bugs in my coat. He's got this sweet, lulling British accent.
I don't know if there's any more you want to say there, but things start spiraling. More people die. Things get grislier. And then we get sort of the centerpiece kill of the film. It's the Psycho moment. It's the John Hurt moment from the first film. Clemens finally spills his guts metaphorically. Then he spills his guts literally. As soon as he opens up and becomes vulnerable to Ripley, And she really has made another connection after all this horrible stuff has happened. Maybe she can find some kind of peace with this guy. Nope, here comes the alien, and boom, he's dead. But, strangely enough, it doesn't kill her. It puts his face up to her and kind of sniffs her and drools next to her, and then runs away like a doggy.
I love that shot, too. That's just the iconic shot with the alien just like right up against her face, just hissing. You're like, ooh, like what's going to happen? And then, runs off. But talking about Clemens and his death where, he's built up to be this important character and then dies about midway in the film. Like you said, with the other Alien films, that's this kismet with what they've got going on in the first two as well. I like also, you talked about him spilling his guts and then he, literally spills his guts. I like the trope flip that they pull there where it's death by sex. He just had sex with Ripley and then he dies shortly after. And how usually, like in a horror film, you have the female character where, they go off, have sex, and then the serial killer murders them or whatever. So, I like how they're playing with the gender conventions there as well.
Yeah, and then from this point on, well, the movie changes because she takes off running toward the assembly area where the leader of this group, assembly area, that's what it's called in the video game, the SNES game. So
I like, it's just carrying over from your Sega CD.
SNES, Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Okay. There unfortunately was not a Sega CD version of Alien 3, which I feel like it would have fit that system perfectly. But she runs over there to tell them the alien's here, all hell's gonna break loose, we gotta do this, and, of course, the boss says, "No, there's no alien. Shut ya!" And then the alien comes down from the ceiling and kills him and takes him away.
Yes, dude. I was so happy in that moment. I was like, for one, I yelled yes at the freaking TV. I was like, yes, kill that dude because he's so annoying. He had like the worst British accent. He's like, this is robot control. Let me talk.
I love it because his voice sounds like a recorded voice from a Pink Floyd song that's yelling at children. It's just a great voice. So he just has it coming just based on the way he talks.
Right. Yeah, literally. Like that, he must die because of that. But then I love, there's this reaction shot of one of the scared prisoners. He's it's Morse, and he's holding a chair up like in defense, and he sees the superintendent get sucked up the ceiling, and then he just got this moment of silence, and he's like, fuck. And it's just like, it's kind of terrible. Like, I'm like, is that supposed to be funny, or is he?
It's funny. That's a funny character.
Yeah, is he really just like trying to? Oh no, like, or is it just bad dialogue? But I don't know.
No, I thought it was great.
I thought it was funny.
In all honesty, the Morse character I thought was brilliant. In the original cut, he doesn't have too many lines early on, but in the second hour of the film, he really comes to life. It's a great performance by Danny Webb. He's so good. He's just this guy that he's sort of the cool detached prisoner that's just like, I don't need this, whatever, I'll do my thing over here. And then he gets sucked into everything.
Right.
To where he's the center of the action near the end of the movie.
Right.
And he's the only survivor. Which, if you notice, Charles S. Dutton says, "Oh, I forgot, Morse. You're the guy that made the deal with God to never die." And he never dies.
And in this movie. Dies.
I'm sure by that alien resurrection abomination, he was dead 200 years later.
I don't know. Maybe he was cloned, too. He kept
maybe he
living.
Maybe he was part of Ripley 8.
He was in there somewhere. His DNA like fell and like he sweated on top. He sweat. What's the conjugation here? He sweat on top of Ripley's blood.
He sweated it.
He sweated it on top of Ripley's blood, and then they extracted that DNA, and he's in there somewhere with the alien.
And from here on out, a movie that was kind of meditative and more slower paced really picks it up. In both versions, we get bigger scenes, sort of action-filled scenes. There's a drawn-out scene in the assembly cut where they're trying to trap the alien, but it gets let out by Paul McGann's character, Golic, who we haven't talked about a lot.
Loved it.
He's a nutty character. For me, I didn't need that.
Needed it.
All that to me was a little extraneous. Jordan liked it, but he's lost at trivia over 5,000 times.
Hey, that does
so
not
his opinion
mean,
holds no weight.
That does not invalidate my opinion of this movie in that subplot.
And he's going to lose today, again.
Let me say this. In the theatrical cut, they're basically trying to light a fire to scare the alien into this toxic waste container place where they can seal it in. Alien gets one of the guys, fires go off, everyone's on fire, running around, and then they turn on the sprinklers. Watching that, I was like, this is dumb. What? And then the assembly cut, they try to turn off the sprinklers, but they can't. And then people are still running around on fire. The alien's killing people. Alien chases a dude into the container area, and then Ripley closes the door on one of the guys being eaten alive by the alien, and they seal him in. And then you got the whole subplot of Gallic, who ends up basically worshiping this alien as like a god, and that's awesome, and how it ties into their whole religious themes. And he opens up the container later after he knocks out some people to get away. And he's like, tell me what to do next. And then the alien eats him. It's so good. It's so dark. He's got the blood still splattered all over his face. I love Paul McGann. I wanted more of him, and I got him in assembly cut. So good.
I love the Eighth Doctor as much as anybody, but I didn't need it. I mean,
come on.
I like the zippy under 2-hour version.
I feel like without all that, I saw that mid-moment with all the explosions going off, and I was just like, it just feels like they needed an explosion here. But then it was just put out with sprinklers and felt really dumb.
I thought that fit the themes of the film because, we've got a plan, and then the plan fails horribly. They lose probably half of the surviving men, burn to death. So I got what I needed from that.
It feels so much better when it's like a false victory. Oh, we got the alien. And then because of human error, the crazy zealotry of this dude, he lets out the alien, and then we're screwed again. I thought it was much better.
There's been so many false victories though up to this point. I didn't need another one. Like, I got it.
Yeah.
Newton, Hicks are dead. False victory at the end of the second movie. We're starting this off with that.
You're still just bitter.
Got it. No, I'm good because it keeps happening. It just happened with Clemens whenever he gets killed by the alien. She thought she found peace again. Nope, she didn't. So, she thought that she got away from the alien. No, she didn't. So I had enough false victories to that point to where I didn't need one more that really takes up about 20 additional minutes of screen time. I didn't need it. I just didn't. But you know what? A lot of people agree with you because a lot of people think that the assembly cut is better. Way more people think the assembly cut is better than think the original cut.
Got the majority on my side. So at this point, Ripley ain't feeling too well. She needs to go scan herself. Oh, she's got a alien in her body. And she doesn't want the rescue team to come and get her because if this organism gets off the planet, it's going to kill everybody. But you know what? Good old company just wants to use it for their bioweapons again.
Just like in the other two films, nothing's changed. They don't care about the individual human lives. They just want the alien.
That's right.
They want to profit. There's still the themes running through all of these sort of anti-corporate films where we have this huge faceless corporation, Weyland-Yutani, who in every movie they want the alien or they want Ripley because she's got the alien in her because they see what they could do with it. They can make a lot of money off of bioweapons and they could care less about the human life involved.
I like in the assembly cut, you've got this really smart scene where she's with Aaron, or who they call 85, the kind of second in command after the superintendent dies. And they're typing back and forth to Weyland-Yutani on the computer. And she asks for permission to terminate the beast. And he's like, wait, well, we don't have any weapons. This whole deal about being on the prison planet, but they don't have any firearms or anything. And they respond with permission denied. So, she knows they want to keep it alive and she's got to kill this thing before they get there.
So, I like that scene.
Like that.
That was good. That was one of the additions I really liked.
Yeah. Add some extra tension too. It's like in some confirmation that, the company is coming. They won't let us kill this thing. So we definitely need to get rid of it before they get here.
You again do get that hinted at several times because you hear that they've never gotten an official transmission to the one that they get that says keep Ridley alive. That's the most important thing. Put Ripley somewhere where she'll be safe. We're going to come now faster than we were before. So you already knew that, but I didn't mind that it gets focused on a little more in this. for sure.
Yeah.
Because it definitely turns out to be important later on.
Yeah, it sets up the later scenes with the company, I feel like, a little better than it does in the original. How do you like this, where she says to him, I'll just go find it, see how smart it is. It's just down there in the basement. And he's like, well, the whole place is a basement. It's a metaphor.
Yeah, that's right. If you want to give a hero's journey to this movie, which doesn't really work because it really is deconstructing things on a pretty major level, but she does go down, to the underworld in this scene because she wants to die and she wants the alien to kill her. She's completely lost hope at this point. Nothing has worked out well for her. No matter what happens, this alien won't get out of her life.
Yeah.
Now she's been impregnated with an alien queen, not even just a regular old alien, which is why it's taking longer, to metamorphose inside of her. I don't know if metamorphose is a word. But...
Sure, why not?
So anyway, she goes down there hoping that the alien will kill her. It doesn't want to do that. And that's why it didn't kill her before, because it's got its new queen inside of her.
Right. Yeah, she wants to kill this baby alien in her so it doesn't grow and propagate this alien race. That's why it's so important that she gets killed by the alien, but then the alien won't kill her, so she asks Dutton to kill her, and he won't. He needs her to fight the alien. But I thought this was one moment where, in both cuts, I was a little disappointed with that confrontation of the alien in the quote-unquote basement, where, she goes down there and faces off against it. I really needed just, like, kind of a standoff shot and then have, like, the alien walking off and, like, leaving her be. I know we got that earlier with, like, it's all up in her face and then just runs away.
Well, that feeds into the nihilistic themes because she thinks she sees the alien's head, and she goes to hit it in the head, and it's just a pipe, and the pipe tears open, and it's full of just these vile, disgusting insects that pour out.
Yeah.
So it kind of feeds into those themes of emptiness. And again, she's looking for something that she does not find. She only finds nothing.
No, she turns around, and the alien's, like, up on the ceiling and comes down and faces off against her.
Well, but then we cut away. And I believe that's when she goes to Dutton to ask for him to kill her. Yeah. Because at this point, I don't think that it's just that she wants the alien inside her to die. She wants to die. She's done.
Yeah. I just felt like the transition there could have been stronger. But yeah, it still gets the point across that she needs him to kill her and he needs her to kill it. So they rally the boys. They have some rousing speeches. Score comes in really strong, lifts up the moment. Pretty good stuff. And they have a plan. They have a plan to lure it into the furnace, trap it once again, and pour some lead on it.
Pour some lead on it. That's right.
Pour some lead on me.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, because she's done, and Dutton refuses to kill her. She's got to help him. He gives her a mission, something that he needs her to do. And then we've got this plan. They're going to try to burn the alien with hot lead. The plan involves everyone. So Dutton not only gets Ripley involved, he gets all the rest of the convicts to buy in. Even our old buddy Morse, who, doesn't really want to do it.
Yeah, he's just like, all right, whatever. Let's go get this thing.
Yeah, and then we get probably the biggest, most propulsive action scene of the film, where now they're going to try to shut all these doors to force the alien into this area where they can pour hot lead on it. So you've got a lot of scenes of inmates running down hallways, being chased by the alien, shutting doors, the alien rerouting and coming towards other inmates. There's a lot of gnarly kills, a lot of suspense, in my opinion.
Probably my least favorite moment of the movie, honestly.
Really?
Just really disorienting. Didn't feel, especially in the theatrical cut, didn't feel like I knew any of these characters or cared about their deaths. The only thing I really like is you get these really sick POV shots from the alien who's climbing on the side of the walls, and you get that sense where you're just with the alien, like climbing on the walls, chasing after the prisoners. But then you got a lot of bad CGI work, and I don't know, this just goes on for way too long, and I just wasn't invested.
I didn't think that there was too much bad CGI in this part, but there was definitely some. But I was invested. The speech that Dutton gives, to me, I kind of could lump all the inmates that we didn't really get to know in the sort of religious movement that he gets them all psyched to do this, and they just feel like this collective one, to where when any of them died for me, it was just like a piece of this collective was dying. So I was enjoying all of it. I love that scene. Again, I like that sequence. I remember not liking it as much before. Maybe it's just because I was enjoying the film now and into what it was doing, but I did like that scene.
You've seen it 400 times now for this
That's
episode,
right.
So it's just it's a part of the experience. But
it's the dragon, that's right, that I now worship.
I did like it a lot better with the assembly cut, though, and you've got a scene where two of the characters are kind of waiting around for the chase to start, and one of them goes, "Do you really believe in all this heaven stuff?" And the other one's like, yeah, I don't know. What do you think?" And then they just start kind of laughing maniacally, like, how could there be a heaven in a hellhole like this? And then, the alien starts chasing him. So I thought that was interesting. It gave us a little bit more of those characters before they get iced.
They all get iced, but Dylan and Morse and Ripley are the only three who make it to that area. Dylan then sacrifices himself.
They've already pulled the piston for it to trap the alien in the mold, and then they're climbing out, and she wants to stay and die. Dutton says, "No, you go. I'll sacrifice myself or whatever." And so he dies. And I love his line where he's like, "Is that as hard as you could bite, mother?" The alien's just chomping on him. But then
that was pretty good. And he said, "God will take care of you, sister." That was the last thing that he said.
Yeah, there you go. But Morse pulls the chain for the lead to come down, and victory or not, jumps up out of the hot boiling lead. Ripley's climbing up the pipe ducts, and she goes for the sprinklers. That's right, callback from earlier. We got sprinklers in this place. Douses the thing, cracks all over its CGI head, and then ba-boom, it explodes for some reason. But it explodes. And I like how earlier in the film you had the shot of the bucket cracking after they set off the sprinklers, after the fires and stuff before, which alludes to, you're going to pour scalding lead on this thing, then pour cold water, and it's going to crack and explode, I guess. But kind of cool how instead of fire, which is what the alien is typically afraid of, they take it out with water instead.
It's thermal shock, Jordan. Okay, I know you're not really into science or being right about everything or anything.
Thermal shock,
it's thermal shock that kills
That's right.
it.
Yeah, but I mean, why exploding, though?
It's the same thing that happens when you've got a really hot glass, say a bowl that you microwave, then you put something cold in it and it cracks apart. It's the same concept, except in this case we're dealing with something that's molten getting wet, which is why it goes into thermal shock so violently and awesomely. I like that explosion.
Yeah,
it's actually one of the only CGI shots in the film right there. I know it seems like there's more CGI, but there's actually not that much, which, we got Jurassic Park the year after this. That was, and still kind of is, that perfect blend of CGI and animatronic stuff. It's actually almost all animatronic here.
Yeah, it's in the CGI in Jurassic Park, for me, is just miles ahead of anything we have in this, which is just so astounding. And then, like you said, the previous Alien films just looking so much better than the effects in this. But it's a CGI shot of like the head cracking, which you only see for like a split second, and then you've got an awesome shot of the body and the parts just blowing up and going everywhere. So sorry I wasn't so educated about thermal shock. Thank you, Nick, for for enlightening me there.
There you go. Now you know. Yeah, they were going to get Industrial Light and Magic for this, but then they decided to go with a different company. I think it was like Amalgamated Dynamics or something.
Yeah.
Who's going on to do some decent stuff, special effects-wise. But, I mean, Industrial Light and Magic, when they did Jurassic Park the next year, all the work they've done with Star Wars and everything else, I think we would get some better-looking stuff if they had been involved. No offense to the people who worked hard on this movie, but those guys are the masters of this kind of thing.
Which is interesting that David Fincher had worked for Industrial Light and Magic before this for a couple of he was on Return of the Jedi as a visual effects cameraman, I believe. Interesting.
I'll take your word for that. Maybe that's something you're not wrong about.
Shoot, come on. All right, well, to top this off, you got the company that shows up, and you've got a human bishop, or Bishop 2, as it's read in the credits. What is it? No one knows. Oh my God, what's going on?
I do love the ominous shots of the ship approaching and then landing, and then all the Weyland-Yutani employees, including Bishop 2, walking out and coming toward Ripley and Morse. I thought those were great. Very
pretty
ominous.
Good stuff. Yes, so he wants her to come with him. He promises he's going to take the alien baby out of her. You've got to just trust me. No, she slams the chain gate in front of his face, and then Morse takes her over the burning furnace, and then she throws herself into the furnace. And again, with the effects here, it looks pretty lousy. I know they had to rush a lot of this at the last moment, but yeah, for me, it just kind of kills the moment. Just, you got the really terrible, I don't know if it was CGI fire or they composited her body on top of it, but it just looks really bad. And apparently the original ending, they wanted her just to go down in the lead at first with the alien, which I feel like would have looked really cool, but they were afraid it would look too much like Terminator 2, which was right around the same time. So,
and which looked great.
So yeah, that's
kind of a bummer.
Yeah, that looked awesome in T2. And I mean, like, this is not, this is one of two times that I can recall in this franchise where they ruined something worrying about how it's going to look too similar to another movie. And I'm like, how many, like, if I watch this movie now, I'm not worried about, like, oh, it looks so much like T2 or whatever. I mean, obviously, you got to worry about your paycheck. Then, if, like, something is, if you feel like, oh, you just ripped that off from that other movie that just came out. But I mean, this is a David Fincher movie. We got to think about, posterity and how we're going to watch this movie, in 2020 and review it on the Film Shake podcast. So don't worry about T2. Just get Ripley and some molten lead. That's all I want to see.
Fincher could have gone on into anonymity, which a lot of other directors who've had kind of fiasco situations like this have done.
True.
Who knew what he was going to end up doing?
Yeah.
That he was going to be an award-winning director who's made handfuls of classics. Tough to argue that Zodiac isn't the best movie of the 2000s. Flashing ahead, he's just done a lot of incredible stuff.
Can I mention Alien Resurrection one more time real quick, since we're talking about things that were spoiled?
Hey, I've got to pee. Go ahead while I get up so I don't have to listen
to
to
have your permission? So,
go ahead. I'll be back.
So there's the goofy-looking, like, alien human baby monster creature in the end of Resurrection. And they did that instead of doing, like, a kind of feminine, humanoid, Ripley-faced alien hybrid thing, which they feared it would look too much like the alien from Species, which was also done by H.R. Geiger, who did all the designs for Alien. So they just stuck this, like, wiggly nose, gelatinous, crazy looking, funky alien thing. Totally just ruined Resurrection amongst other things for me. But I mean, that movie might actually been good. Just get the alien from Species and use that instead. But no, they had to do that. So whatever.
Hey, are you still talking about Alien Resurrection?
Yeah. Go away. I'm joking. I'm done.
I just went to get. I've got a big monologue coming up, so I'm just taking some Tums now.
All right. So, yeah, let's talk about how as she's falling into the furnace, depending on the cut you're watching, the alien pops out of her chest as she falls, and the little squealing, body of the alien. And she's got this peaceful look on her face like, I've finally done it. I've escaped these things. I've done what I need to do. She falls into the furnace, and then the fire goes out. And then in the assembly cut, as we're comparing the two different cuts, you don't get the chest pop. I'd like to bring up the question, the quintessential question for all of our time is to chest pop or not to chest pop. Whether it is nobler in the mind, the slings and arrows of outrageous chest popping.
I know it's not the most popular thing, but I actually did like the chest burst. It gives her this last moment of agency, because everyone else that's experienced this has essentially just died of pain and shock and blood loss immediately when the alien burst out of them. But she gets that last minute of strength, or last second of strength, I should say, where she grabs it and holds it in, and you're sure it's dead. It's dead. If she hadn't done that, it might have gotten away, but in her final second...
How's it going to get away?
Well, they can jump pretty high. Who knows?
Yeah, but if it doesn't pop out of her chest, then... it's in there, right? Unless it kind of slides out of her butt and goes down her pants leg or something.
Well, you know how the internet is. People say, well, we didn't see it die. We didn't see it die, so it might not be dead. But in this, it definitely died. You're also not the kind of guy to watch a 2-hour YouTube video about how General Snoke kind of twitched a little whenever Rey walked over his supposedly dead body, and really he's still alive, and he's going to be the grand villain of Rise of Skywalker.
Don't even go there. Come on.
You're not one of those dudes. Neither one of us are. So.
Okay, good. I'm glad you weren't either. Yeah, I kind of like the chest burst there at the end, where it's just like one of these last moments of action, not really action, but gravitas, where it's like, oh yeah, it makes it feel a little bit more heroic. I could see how some people would like it without, where it's just this more like somber moment where she's sacrificing herself, and they feel like maybe the chest burst is a little too gratuitous. I don't know. I can see it both ways, but I kind of like how it busts out of her chest. It's kind of cool. Well, I do want to go through the plot to the very end real quick. There's a nice moment at the very end. You know, they're carting Morse away. The company is leaving the planet, and you've got everything that's just kind of empty now. And we go back to the EEV, which they pulled out of the water that crashed on the planet in the beginning. And you have the company's transmission of Ripley's first mission in the first Alien movie. And she's talking about, she's signing off. You know, this is Ripley signing off. So I thought that was a nice little touch. And you've got the green letters on the black screen that come up again. The prison's closed. It's going to be sold for scrap. End of transmission, cut to credits. So I thought that was a solid ending. And especially thinking of this as a trilogy, just, as if this were the last film, having that kind of nice callback to the original with her transmission. You hear the audio there. I thought that was a nice touch.
Very cool. Yeah, I liked it. It gives it an air finality. We're never going to make another one of these. We won't make a fourth movie. Of course
not. No, this is not. Yeah. And now they're in talks. Have you seen this? They're in talks of making an Alien 5 with Sigourney Weaver coming back. I think this was just like this month or this past month. Some of the original writers have put together a treatment for her to come back. It kind of teases, it's from what I've read, there was a leak of the first page of the script or the treatment, and it has some mentions of like different quotes about dreams. So it sounds like they might try and retcon 3 and 4 and just like, oh, that was all a dream while she was in her cryotube and she wakes up and we have a new story.
Speaking of wake up, I hope that Sigourney Weaver wakes up one day and says, you know what, I'm not doing another one of these.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen, because that sounds horrible.
Yeah, it sounds like she's hesitant to come back. I mean, she's 70 years old now, so it's crazy.
And that's nuts. One of my favorite actors. Love Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, love her.
Going all the way back to high school. And on that note, are you ready to listen to me talk about nihilism?
I guess, whatever. Who cares?
Doesn't matter.
Is that nihilistic enough for you?
It sure is.
Yeah. All right. Hit me. I need some more nihilism in my life. Way too optimistic.
So for some reason, really going into junior high, but I'm sure it was like this a little bit before, I had these weird tendencies where I really did think like, this doesn't matter. Someone would try to get me up to do something. I'd say, who cares? It doesn't matter anyway. It's not going to make a difference. And, I really liked to wear black. I had black jeans, black t-shirts, loved it, right? And I kind of grew out of wearing the black. I never was like a goth kid or anything. I really just wore that to church to make people worry about me. But
paint it black.
I saw the first Alien, like I said, in high school.
Ooh.
So I got these ideas from the movie as I'm watching it. Just the emptiness and coldness and uncaring nature of space. I just got obsessed with it. I wrote most of the first book and then an outline of a trilogy that I even called the Nihilism trilogy, which took place in deep space. And I took a page from Alien, and it was just exploring these ideas because I was at once excited but also terrified by them. And then I found, as time went on, the more I thought and obsessed about these ideas, the worse it was for me. As far as that being my worldview, I can't be a nihilist. I can't do it. I think there's a lot of truth to a lot of that stuff. I can't help it. It's just my nature to say, meh. But
things suck,
at the same
whatever.
time, I really appreciate this movie for what I think it's saying at the end, which I'll get to. But
we are nihilists. We believe in nothing.
Later on in high school, when we read Macbeth also, and, we read, out, out, brief candle, life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Oh my gosh, I ate those words. Those words were nourishment to me, probably poison, but man, I love that so much.
I would love to, I'm just thinking about that Macbeth quote in context of Alien. Just love to see a xenomorph like in a soliloquy. Like just straight up like talking alien.
Not to bunny trail, but
Right.
Ridley Scott at the end of the first movie, he actually wanted the alien to bite off Ripley's head
Ooh.
and then speak in her voice and make the final recording at the end.
Oh,
and
nice.
The team around the film was like, nah, we're not going to do that, Ridley.
That's weird, yeah.
Let's not go that way.
I'm glad he didn't go there.
Me too. That would have been, I don't think they could have pulled it off.
Been really cartoony. Maybe James Cameron could have done it. No, it totally would be something that Jean-Pierre Jeunet would do if he could in Resurrection.
Would you stop talking about Alien 4? This is an Alien 3 podcast.
Oh,
Take that crap somewhere else. You want to do Alien 4? This was your pick. You picked Alien 3.
But I watched Resurrection after I watched Alien 3.
You said,
It's
we're
fresh.
going to watch
It's fresh on the
Alien
brain.
3. And then you even were like, nope, the assembly cut's dead to us, not the 90s. We're going to talk about the 92 one. And here you are talking about nothing but the
Hey,
assembly cut
I
and
meant-
Resurrection.
Oh, so we can talk about 1 and 2, but not 4, huh? You're just biased. You had no problem with me talking about James Cameron.
Yes, because it existed up to this point. Remember, the world ended after the 90s.
97, brah. 97.
Speaking of nihilism. So, according to Alan Pratt, who's the professor of humanities at Embry-Riddle University, the currency for existential nihilism comes from a lot of the stuff that Jean-Paul Sartre and kind of the French atheist existentialist movement started, which, full disclosure, I'm not an atheist. But the defining proposition for the movement, existence precedes essence, rules out any ground or foundation for establishing an essential self or human nature. When we abandon illusions, life is revealed as nothing. And for the existentialist, nothingness is the source of not only absolute freedom, but also existential horror and emotional anguish. Nothingness reveals each individual as an isolated being, thrown into an alien and unresponsive universe, barred forever from knowing why, yet required to invent meaning. It's a situation that's nothing short of absurd. So, I said nothing weird there, but so we've already got this alien and unresponsive universe, right?
I was about to say, man, you're making me depressed. Can we just talk about aliens again? But then you said the word alien. And I'm like,
did.
ooh.
Oh, we're going to talk about aliens.
I like the correlation there.
And really, we're still only in existentialism. These kind of thoughts actually led to nihilism, which nihilism is the belief that all values are baseless and that nothing can be known or communicated. It is often associated with extreme pessimism and a radical skepticism that condemns existence. A true nihilist would believe in nothing, have no loyalties, and no purpose other than perhaps an impulse to destroy. So, let's talk about the first alien. We have Ash, the dastardly android. Once our other characters find out about the existence of the alien, they're all terrified and they can't even comprehend it, that it exists, what it's doing. And he says, "You still don't understand what you're dealing with, do you? The perfect organism. Its structural perfection is only matched by its hostility. I admire its purity, a survivor, unclouded by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality."
So perfect symbol for nihilism.
There you go. Again, Pratt says, while nihilism is often discussed in terms of extreme skepticism and relativism, for most of the 20th century it's been associated with the belief that life is meaningless. Existential nihilism begins with the notion that the world is without meaning or purpose. Given this circumstance, existence itself, all action, suffering, and feeling, is ultimately senseless and empty. Do you want to go get some ice cream now, Jordan?
Please, please.
So here's, with all of that said, here's my philosophical take on Alien 3.
All right, yeah. What do you believe that this is a nihilistic worldview being represented in Alien 3?
I think the Alien films are set in an uncompromisingly nihilistic universe.
Right.
It is cold, it's indifferent, it's incomprehensible, and seemingly devoid of any meaning. Any attempts Ripley makes at connection and meaning throughout the trilogy are destroyed in ways that make this universe seem not only devoid of meaning, but overtly antagonistic toward it.
Right.
When Ripley discovers she herself has been impregnated with an alien queen, an occurrence which represents the ultimate expression of cosmic absurdity, she finally reaches the natural state of acceptance of a nihilistic universe, which is despair. Ripley's true daughter figure, Newt, has not only been taken away from her, but Ripley is now being given an abominable daughter in Newt's place. And that's, of course, the alien mother.
Like it. Interesting.
So Ripley then comes to the conclusion that the only natural action one can take in the face of such a universe is self-nullification. And full disclosure here, you sent me an article written by, what's the guy's name? Darren Mooney, which I've actually read other stuff by him too. So I read that, and I do use sort of some of the same language here. He has some of the same ideas of the film, but I came up with all this stuff long before I read his article, but I did want to give that article a shout out because he does have some similar ideas.
He does use that same word as self-nullification.
Yes, and I don't think there's a better word for it.
Right. And I like, like you said, she's despairing throughout the film because of her loss of Newt and Hicks, but mostly Newt, where she had found this mother role. So in this film, we definitely see her going throughout all of her actions as somebody, filled with loss, filled with grief. And yeah, I like that correlation that you bring up too with, now she's got another in the place of Newt. She's been impregnated with this evil child, this, she's become the Dark Mother, and, the meaninglessness of her fight against this alien. But in the end, I would say she is still trying to eradicate herself and the alien.
I don't think she gets there on her own. I don't think that she gets to that point by herself. I think she really, when she finds out that she's got this thing inside of her and that the alien won't kill her, she just wants to die. She could care less even about the other alien being killed. She just wants Dylan to kill her. That's the Charles S. Dutton character. That's it. She's found that her meaning has been taken away. She's literally been impregnated with meaninglessness, and she's done. But I feel like her perspective is opposed by the character of Dylan, who accepts the uncaring nature of the universe, yet I believe rejects nihilism because he finds meaning in both his religion and in his ability to act. In Dylan's final rallying speech, he declares, "We're all gonna die." And by the way, this speech is really badass. And honestly, I cried on my first rewatch during this speech. I thought it was really powerful, and I thought it was a great performance by Charles S. Dutton.
Yeah, what does he say? Yeah, we're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die. The only question is when. This is as good a place as any to take your first steps to heaven. The only question is how you check out. Do you want to go out on your feet or on your knees begging? I ain't much for begging. Nobody ever gave me nothing.
Right. Yeah, I love how he says that too, just so full of emotion. I ain't one for begging. Yeah, so good. I want to step back for a minute. I don't know if I completely agree that she is at this point just fully giving up on life because she's got this alien in her. I believe she still has some heroic nature in her that says, we can't let this thing out of here. She says to one of the other characters, if this organism gets off this planet, then everyone is going to be killed. So to me, I see it more as like a self-sacrifice where I've got to take one for the team, basically.
She does not, once she goes down to the basement and then she feels despair at this point, the ultimate nihilistic concept of despair, she could care less about killing that alien. She wants to die. She doesn't say, I'll help you kill this thing and then kill me, until he tells her, we're going to kill this thing because we can use you as a tool. You have a meaning now. It won't kill you. We can use that to our advantage to kill it. He wants her to take action, which is not what she wanted. She wanted to die. She wanted to self-nullify. Until he tells her, no, we're not going to do that. You're going to help us kill it, then I'll take care of you and your issue. Which actually we find he doesn't do.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I like that point though, that he gives her meaning, you know, and I thought that was a great point in the script where it's like, oh, we can use this to fight the alien. So it's just smart on, you know, the plot's point, but also, you know, with your point about, you know, him rejecting meaninglessness and finding meaning for her and like giving her agency.
Exactly. He gives her a purpose again. And also, here, let me just do a short philosophical digression while I'm hopping all up on philosophy, because I never get to talk about this stuff anymore. To me, this speech seems, in a way, a refutation of existentialist philosopher Martin Heidegger's statement that death is non-relational, and that, while each prisoner will indeed be the only one to experience their own unique death, their deaths are in fact relational, and that they will all be experienced while the prisoners are now fighting for a common goal, inspired and united by Dylan's speech. All right, I'm off of Heidegger now. I'm going to go to someone else, a Welsh poet. I believe Dylan is named after the Welsh poet Dylan Thomas, who wrote both "And Death Shall Hold No Dominion" and "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night," both works which refute the power of death.
Right. Right.
And I think they changed the spelling of his name not to make it too obvious. But I've never heard anyone say this, but I beat you at trivia so many times. I've got to be a genius, because you're not stupid. You're a smart guy. For me to beat you this many times, I've got to be a genius.
Oh, come on. Don't let it go to your head, Nick. Come on. No, that's cool, though. I like that about Dylan Thomas. I love that poem. And, yeah, I can totally see that in the whole "do not go gentle into that good night," because that's definitely the rallying cry that he gives to the other prisoners, and that's just his MO at the end of the film.
That's right. And to Ripley.
Just straight up let himself get killed at the end. I feel like they could have both climbed out of the lead vat and, you know, just doused the alien, but I don't know.
It's a heroic death to me, because he's buying her time to get up there.
True.
And he's fighting the alien, he's smack talking it while it's causing him horrific pain and ripping him to shreds.
Yeah.
He smack talks until he dies.
It's pretty cool. It's also the fact that if she climbs up, the alien's going to climb up after her. You know, it's going to try and be after her because it wants to be with her, I guess.
And also, I think it was just enraged at that point, because it got, hot molten lead all over it. So I don't even know if it was thinking, like, I got to protect the queen now. I think it was like, they're trying to kill me.
Yeah.
I got to stop this. Okay, so let me bring this home to why I don't think this film, and ultimately this series, up until this point, because there were only 3 of them and then they stopped making them. Well, I don't think that it has a nihilist perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, after Dylan bravely faces his own death and Ripley realizes her meaning in killing the alien, she does indeed self-nullify. However, she does so in a method that strikes deep at the nihilistic, hostile heart of the universe, a heart Weyland-Yutani wishes to nurture by perpetuating the existence of the alien, which is this universe's nihilistic warrior force, the meaning-destroying object that cannot be comprehended by man. By not only destroying the rampaging alien, but the one in herself as well, Ripley becomes a Christ figure whose sacrifice stops the flow of meaninglessness into the universe. She also does so after denying the temptations of Bishop, who acts as a stand-in for Satan, promising that if Ripley doesn't sacrifice herself, he will give her just what she desires.
A family.
The film recognizes her sacrifice as a religious act, both in the crucifixion imagery, because of course when she falls, she outspreads her hands in the shape of a cross.
Right.
And we get a huge cross earlier in the film in a shot, of the landscape.
Mm-hmm.
And, you got the choral soundtrack as well, giving, it's very religious sounding music throughout the film, but especially at this moment. So yeah, that's it. That's my really long, rambling monologue about how I think this is a nihilistic universe that these films are set in, but I don't think that this film ultimately has a nihilistic perspective.
Right, because the whole sacrifice at the end, she's giving up, that promise of a family, the nuclear family that she lost with Hicks and Newt, and how Bishop, promises, that's awesome. Like you said, I didn't even think about that with Bishop being like a stand-in for Satan and how she overcomes that temptation. And then, destroying the nihilistic image, the symbol for meaninglessness, how she eradicates that and therefore protects and saves the rest of the universe from this destructive force. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And yeah, the imagery, the score, everything going on there. I think people listening to this, if they're still here after our philosophical discussion, they should take this, like we said, as the final word on Alien 3 and how awesome this thing is and how much people have passed over. Something that definitely has a lot more to offer.
Yeah, which I did.
Which you did,
really
Nick. Come on.
I did. Thank you for picking this out, because I reviewed this movie at one point and I think I gave it like a 3 out of 10. And I'm hoping I'm giving it a higher score than you. If we both give it the same score, I'm going to be pissed, because I'm giving it a really high score.
Really? Okay.
I think it's got flaws, but ultimately I think the visuals, the sound, the performances, the themes, and how they're actually carried across, in my opinion, make it a very good film. I'm going to, in fact, give it an 8 out of 10. And I'm talking the original cut. I'll give both the original and the assembly an 8.
Wow.
I love this movie now.
Dang.
I've got a huge appreciation for it. I think it's extremely rewatchable. I had no trouble watching it 4 times.
Yeah.
I like it, man.
Wow.
I'm into it.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised at your 8 out of 10. For me, star ratings, the theatrical cut, yeah, I'm going way below that. I gave it a 2.5 off the bat. But then...
So 5 out of 10. Yes, we disagree.
But then, my wonderment at the assembly cut, and obviously I'm not alone with people that think this is so much better.
Yes, most people agree.
But I mean, just the fact that, okay, for the assembly cut, I gave it a 3.5, and how it just those edits alone could jump it up that high for me. I mean, from theatrical where I finished it and I was just kind of like, let down a little bit, and then watching the assembly cut, just like you, man, endlessly rewatchable. So many, great themes throughout that I felt like were established and carried through much better in the assembly. So yeah, I mean, I was really close to a 4 out of 5, which would, be similar to you. And
I'm glad you didn't.
Just couldn't quite get there with, just some of the messiness of the assembly, and, obviously just like the quality of the filmmaking breaking down here and there, just, because of it being pieces put together. But
for sure.
That just makes me want to see like a final director's edition of this so much more, because there's so much good stuff in this that I feel like is a little lost because of the production hell it went through. It could be like, the best in the franchise, in my opinion.
Yeah, did you see that apparently for some of the cast and crew, Fincher showed his 3-hour rough cut, and they've all said it was a masterpiece.
It was a masterpiece, yeah.
It was incredible, and I believe that.
Give me that work print, man. I want to, if any of our listeners out there have a copy on them or know where to find it, email us, filmshakepodcast@gmail.com. Come on. It's out there somewhere. And apparently, this is interesting. I don't know how much this is true because I read it on like a YouTube comment thread. But you can find like little pieces of the work print on YouTube. And somebody said that the work print is completely scoreless. It has no music. And that was Fincher's intention, that he wanted to bring people into the world just like they were there in that prison. So that would be, even though I love the Goldenthal score on this, I feel like that would be really interesting to watch this without the score.
Man, that would be weird.
It would be weird. Maybe it wouldn't work. I don't know, but
not as weird as you actually winning trivia today. That would be really weird.
That would be for this or what? Well, we got to do movie connection time, my friend.
Oh yeah.
We got to connect Demolition Man to Aliens 3.
Do you have one besides the Goldenthal one I spoiled last week?
I've got 3, including that one.
Sweet.
So yeah, we've got scores with both Elliot Goldenthal. They're both futuristic sci-fi films directed by first-time directors, and you both got films that feature characters cryogenically frozen. There you go. Those are my 3 connections.
Nice job, man, for Alien 3.
All right. Moving on into the trivia battle. So, do you have a theme? Do you have a theme to your questions, or is this just random chaos in a meaningless world?
I thought of just asking you completely asinine questions not related to the movie to keep the nihilism stuff going. But in the end, I didn't do that.
Nice. I like that both our minds went there.
I picked 5 of the actors in the movie, and I have a question related to each.
Okay. Yeah, I picked Alien franchise.
All right, let's go. Let's do it. Why don't you ask me first?
All right, so first question. Which of the franchise's films has the shortest runtime of 1 hour and 49 minutes? Is it A, Alien, B, Aliens, C, Alien 3, or D, Alien Resurrection?
Let's just say Resurrection.
You got it. Boom, boom. This is not starting off well for me. All right, what you got?
So I tried to go with harder questions since I've been trying to just throw you, alley-oop dunk passes, and you've just been, donking it off the rim. I went for ones that I thought were harder because maybe these will actually be easier for you.
No, I'm still going to suck. Come on.
All right, number 1. Sigourney Weaver was nominated for an Oscar for her incredible portrayal of Ripley in 1986's Aliens, and 2 years later for Gorillas in the Mist. For what other film was she nominated for an Academy Award? Was it A, The Accidental Tourist, B, The Ice Storm, C, Dave, or D, Working Girl?
Was it B, Ice Storm?
Wrong, it was D, Working Girl.
Oh, snap. Nothing really matters. Everything sucks.
You're gonna lose.
I'm gonna lose.
Your life has no meaning. I will destroy your meaning.
All right, next question. Which one of these absurd facts about alien resurrection is false?
Of course, going to your little baby number 4.
You sensing a theme here. All right. A, they reshot the opening credits scene with an alien fly creature being squashed. B, the director wanted to have a scene of a mosquito being vaporized after sucking Ripley's acid blood. C, the newborn alien creature was designed with a combo of male and female sex organs, but they were digitally removed in post-production. Or D, a sex scene between Ripley and one of the xenomorphs was scripted to explain her pregnancy, but was eventually cut.
Let's say that A isn't true. I think the answer's B, but I'm going to say A.
A is true. So
is it B that's false?
B is actually also true. C is true. It was D. A sex scene between Ripley and one of the xenomorphs was not scripted to explain her pregnancy, and it was not eventually cut. All the others are true. They really did create the newborn gelatinous alien creature with a combination of those sex organs and then had to digitally remove them because it was too weird.
That element's pretty famous. I knew that. Yeah. But you got me. All right. Number 2. 90s movie all-star Charles S. Dutton starred in all but which of these 4 90s films? Was it A, Seven, B, Mimic, C, Lightning Jack, D, Cookie's Fortune?
It's been a while since I've seen Seven, so I'm just going to go with Seven.
Wrong. He was in Seven. He wasn't in Lightning Jack.
Lightning Jack. What the hell is Lightning Jack? All right, so that's 2 that I've bombed.
That's right. If I get this right and you get my number 3 wrong, I win.
Gotcha. All right. Michael Wincott plays which character in the Alien franchise? A, Elgin, B, Vreese, C, Johnner, or D, Wren?
A, Elgin.
You got it!
Yeah.
Another Alien Resurrection for you. How did you know?
I watched that in 2017. That was the last time I watched it.
You're a monster.
I hadn't seen it since then.
You're a monster. See, I can't beat you with your indelible memory. It's not my fault. All right. What you got?
All right. This could be your last question. Let's see.
Lord help me.
In 1996, Charles Dance starred in Space Truckers, directed by Reanimator director A, John Carpenter, B, Stuart Gordon, C, Brian Usna, D, Wes Craven.
Oh, Lord. Space Truckers, really? But Reanimator, I should know who did that. Stuart Gordon.
You got it.
Nice.
You're still alive.
I'm still alive.
There's still meaning.
Life has meaning. I need to win so bad. All right. What is Newt's full name? Is it A, Rebecca Jordan, B, Danielle Edmond, C, Carrie Edmond, D, Billy Jordan, or E, it's just Newt?
A, Rebecca Jordan.
Damn it. Damn you to hell.
They show it.
Damn you to hell. And watching this movie 4 times.
I love Aliens so much. It's so good.
So I want a xenomorph to come out and just chomp your head.
Well, look, you're not out yet. Okay. You got another question here.
All right.
I'm helping you out here. I'm going back on the too hard thing. All right, here we go. This is your shot. Come on, man.
Whatever.
Come on.
I really don't want to watch Nemesis 2. Come on. All right, what do you got?
4. The prolific Lance Henriksen was in what 2 other 1992 films? A. Jennifer 8. B. Delta Heat. C. Powder. D. The prequel that nobody asked for, Donk Cetheus. E. Boots on the Ground.
So wait, I have to name 2 of those that he was in?
Mm-hmm. In 1992.
Dude, I don't know.
Besides Alien 3.
All right. Powder and Delta Heat.
Wrong! There is no meaning to life. It's all meaningless. Unless the meaning is this. Jordan Courtney sucks at trivia.
Just leave off the trivia part. I just suck in general.
No, man, you're great. You're awesome. Just because I keep beating you in trivia, that doesn't have anything to do with your worth as a man or a human.
Yes, it does.
You're legit. The answer was Jennifer Aiden, Delta Heat. So he had a busy year. All right, so look, I'm not going to punish you that bad. I'm going to watch the movie with you. Because we're going to do a little theme here.
Okay.
We had a request from a listener, also someone who's guest hosted a show with us, Jonathan Robker, over in Germany. He had the idea, why don't you do some Michael Crichton from the 90s? Because, there are a ton of Michael Crichton after Jurassic Park, which is the most obvious. So, we're Film Shake. Everyone thinks that's a good movie. So that's not really what we do here.
The movie sucks, dude. What are you talking about? Freaking raptors?
So we're not going to do that. Your punishment will be a Michael Crichton movie, and the main movie we watch will be a Mike Crichton. Michael Crichton.
Mike Crichton.
So your punishment will be The Lowly Sphere from 1998, directed by Ray Mansbury Levinson. Sphere was my favorite Michael Crichton book in the 90s, so I was really psyched about this, and then really let down by the movie in the theater, because it's for Crichton, a really imaginative book, a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? A little more abstract than a lot of his other stuff.
All right.
But this movie just feels really by the numbers and basic. I haven't watched it since the theater in 1998, so I kind of want to watch it again. Yeah. So let's watch that one together.
I remember liking it. I've never read the book, so I'm actually excited to revisit this, because we're getting into some more sci-fi. I've been jonesing for more of that. So yeah, after I polish off some more of the Alien movies, I'll be glad to get into some Sphere.
Yeah, I feel so bad that I'm not going to make you watch Space Truckers. Well, let's watch Sphere. Let's have a total Michael Crichton episode, because after we talk about Sphere for 10 minutes, we're going to talk about our main movie, 1995's Congo.
Sweet.
This is another one I haven't seen since its release in 1995. So it's been 25 years. I think it's time to come back to the Congo, baby.
It's time to bring it back. Let's go ape.
Ooh. That's right. Michael Crichton, show us the way from the grave, because he died. He's dead.
Oh, sorry. Oh.
But hey, Congo lives on, and we're going to watch it.
That's right. Cool, man. Well, I'm excited to get into that with you. I have also not revisited Congo since it came out. Probably haven't seen Sphere. Can I just say Sphere a bunch of times in that episode? Sphere. Yeah, I haven't seen that in forever either. So yeah, cool. Some more 90s-ness to get into. Where can we find these movies? Are they streaming on multiple available platforms?
Yes, you should be able to find these with ease. I don't want to specifically say, because when we did the Demolition Man episode, I said it's free on Hulu if you've got Hulu, which was true at the time that I said it. Literally a week later, it was off of Hulu and somewhere else.
Yes.
But these are available for streaming. They're both easily available. You shouldn't have any trouble watching either one. They're out there.
To keep these episode recordings accurate for all time, we can't designate the streaming platform. But I do want to give a nod to justwatch.com. If you haven't gone there, if you're not aware of that website, you can go there, search a specific movie, and find the streaming service that movie's on, which is really helpful when you're trying to track down a lot of these old 90s movies. So, yeah, go check it out. Justwatch.com, search Congo or Sphere if you want to be punished with me. I'd be glad to have some company in my punishments from Nick.
Yeah.
They just keep coming.
Double header. You'll get me next time. Next time, it's your shot. It's your shot. Because life has meaning.
Just gonna give up on this shtick of the show. If I lose the next trivia round, then we just gotta do something else.
Man, we've been doing trivia since the beginning.
This is true. You need to rewatch Resurrection, my friend. It is terrible, but it's fun.
Yeah,
but I'm about to get into
some great movies, man. I love Delicatessen.
Oh yeah,
I love City of Lost Children. He's made some good stuff, but that one it just doesn't work for me.
It doesn't work, on all levels. It's got some fun parts, but yeah, it did make me want to go and rewatch Delicatessen and City of Lost Children. So I'll probably go do that.
Good idea.
Just squeeze it on in with Prometheus and Alien Covenant, which I have not seen. So, would you recommend those two?
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, let's talk about some more Alien.
Yeah, sure, why not?
We really should. This is going to be our longest episode ever. And
why not?
I killed all our audience with my giant nihilism
You probably did. Like, figuratively, literally, all our audience members just vaporized. Their blood turned to acid.
Nothing.
Yeah, became nothing.
So, Prometheus, it's like the idea is good, but the execution is the worst. Hey, I'm a scientist with a PhD. Look at how stupid I can be to advance the plot of this movie. It's really disappointing. Some good visuals, some cool stuff thrown in there, but I just can't get past how stupid the characters have to be to advance the plot.
Gotcha.
Like, it's really insulting. Ridley Scott, he should have known better with that. I mean, he's made enough movies. Maybe he's just tired. He didn't want to do something better there. Just, this dummy's going to stick its head up in the alien's mouth. And
there were so many.
We'll just do that.
There were so many moments in Alien 3 that were like that, especially on the theatrical cut, where I was just like, really, dude? Like, you got some of the secondary characters when they're trying to check out why their candles are going out in, like, the big corridor that they're scoping out, I guess. And one is just like, what's happening with these candles? And then he shines his flashlight like, 2 centimeters in front of him. Oh, wait, there's an alien there. And then it eats them.
He doesn't know there's aliens.
But, wouldn't he be able to see the alien with his flashlight walking up on it? It just seemed really too convenient that, all of a sudden, I shine my flashlight and there's an alien.
We're done with Alien 3. We're done with it.
And then there was another moment where the guy is climbing up the ladder and he drops his dynamite stick. Oops. All right, let me grab that. I'm going to start climbing up the ladder again. Oh, wait, there's an alien right on top of me. Like, wouldn't you see the alien up there? Come on, dude.
So Covenant. So Alien Covenant is kind of the same way. People just do the stupidest stuff. It's irritating because the production design is really good. There's an alien attack in this movie that's so gory and so fun. It's one of my favorite scenes in the whole franchise. But the movie as a whole, Scott just seems way more interested in the David Android character than anything. And to me, and I think most of the audience and most people, it's not that interesting. And maybe they want to see more stuff about the aliens and the other characters, but it seems to be all he cares about. There's just some really dumb stuff in this movie. There's even like I don't want to talk about it anymore. Yeah, I was disappointed by both of those movies. I wish this was just a trilogy, honestly.
Really?
I could live with that. Get rid of the versus Predator movies because those sucked. Those are both really lousy. The second one you can't even see. It's like they shot it in a closet with the lights on. It's ridiculous.
I've not gotten into those ever. I was never interested when they came out.
Those are punishment movies right there.
Lord.
Like, I really was mad at you. Like, say you got 2 questions right in trivia, which would never happen. But say you did do that and you pushed me to the edge. I'm just kidding. You did that last episode.
Yeah, I got pretty close last time. But yeah, now I know what to punish you with. So, Mr. Nanny and Alien vs. Predator Requiem.
I've got it on DVD. I found it just lying like on the ground. And it had someone's random initials on it.
Someone didn't want it that bad. They were just like, I'll just throw it on the ground.
And it was really scratched. But I was like, I've seen all the other ones. I'll watch it. And I did. And
that's how you watched it. You just found it on the ground.
Let me just tell you, too. I'd chip my tooth while I was watching that stupid movie.
No.
I don't even want to talk about why.
I'm interested in watching Prometheus and Covenant, though, just to get more of that, the production design, that atmosphere, the whole alien world, to get back into that.
Give them a go, man. I'd say it's worth watching them once. I don't like them, but I'm glad I watched them. And honestly, I've gone back and watched some of the kill scenes a few times because they're just so well executed. It's just a bummer that there aren't better movies around them.
Yeah, I'm sure the effects and stuff in those are pretty cool looking, so...
Yeah, great special effects.
I don't normally get into movies just for that, but I don't know, there's something about the whole milieu and the atmosphere of the alien movies that I really appreciate, that the story could suck or have, problems, but I'll give it a shot just because, hey, it's freaking Alien.
Yeah, man.
Which I think I was pretty burned out on the franchise when those came out. I was just like, whatever, more Alien movies. But now that I've rewatched 3 is a great gateway drug for more Alien movies, if I want to just throw that out to anybody listening. Like, go watch Alien 3, and then you're going to want to watch every single Alien movie, if you're like me, at least. Or maybe you'll be like, this movie sucks, and I don't want to watch anything, because I'm nihilistic. Maybe you should start with 3, and then go to 2, and then go to 1.
Don't do that.
They get progressively better.
If you're getting into it for the first time, watch the first 3 in order, with the knowledge that 3 flips the script on the other 2, but is thematically consistent.
What is your favorite Alien movie overall? Between 1 and 2, obviously, right? But which one?
2.
2?
2. Yeah, I said it earlier. 2.
Yeah.
But that was like a day ago, because this is the longest episode we've ever done.
I think I'd go with Alien, the first one. I think I like that one just a little bit more.
Nice. So your ranking would be 1, 2, 3, 4?
Oh yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Gotcha. I love the first movie. The second one just pushes a lot of my...
No, dude, Alien versus Predator for sure at the top.
Yeah, bruh.
Number
PTA
1
all the way.
Man, that crap was PG-13. I love how Alien versus Predator Requiem, they probably named it Requiem with an R just so they could have AVP R, because everybody was disappointed that Alien vs. Predator was PG-13. So if you look at the poster for Alien vs. Predator Requiem, it literally has an R in red, like for the AVP R. It's like, oh, this is gonna be bloody, bruh. Like, that's so stupid.
But then you can't see anything, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I guess not.
Oh,
negates itself just like life.
Self-nullify.
Self-nullification.
Hey, that was so fun that I don't think we want to stop, but we probably should.
We should probably stop. All right. Well, if you're still here, if you're still listening, give us a shout out.
If you still want to go on.
If you still want to live, give us an email at filmshakepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you guys. What is your favorite Alien movie? What are some of your favorite scenes from Alien 3, like we talked about? And hey, if you want to watch Spear with me and be punished and then watch Congo, check that out and let us know what you thought. Maybe we can get some of those comments in for the next episode.
That would be nice, you see. Give us a nice little 5 out of 5. That would be cool.
Over on the iTunes or the Apple Pod. Sweet. All right, guys. Well, we'll catch you next time for more Film Shake. Nice hanging out with you, Nick.
Nice hanging out with you. And to Jordan and everyone else out there, take it easy.
Guess. How can you take it easy in such a cruel world?